I'm talking from Paris, from North Paris, nearby the large stadium of soccer. And I'm in the design studio. Currently it's my office where we can see all this mess here around me. But there is even more mess on the other side of the room here. But okay, so I'm still in France, supposed to be landing in India somewhere around August, but working remotely with my guys in India through those kind of very nice devices that are very helpful during COVID, which is called video. Okay, so everything needs to start by a coffee or two or three or sometimes 4 or 5. We start to have like kind of a very, as we are working remotely, we have a lot of intervention or discussion with my dear friend, in particular, the design leader in India called Anand, and is really good. And we are just exchanging every day on the move or the progress of each project we are working on. So let's say that's between 8:30 in the morning until 8 p.m. in the evening. It's quite a full day, I have to admit, and we have a lot of exchange on project, but also on strategy, on how we eventually communicate on product, because what is interesting is not only just defining the product, but having the storytelling behind that, because we want to follow the product until we put it in the showrooms or until we do the shooting for the catalog and magazine. So let's say it's a full day. Yeah, they are pretty full days. Yeah. So 4 guys, and I'm very lucky because there are 2 ladies and 2 men. So I'm quite happy. Usually, you know, in France, for instance, it's not that easy to have ladies as industrial designer. And in India, I got already 2. So lady Sonal, Surbi, and I got Viraj, and I got Anand. So those 4 people are very in charge of each category. Anand and Viraj, most of the time they are spending time on working on ceramics, on toileting, on vessels and all that. So now she's more in charge about the faucet and artist edition, you know, all these decorative product that we are providing. And then and Serbi, she's the latest in our team. She just joined us something like 1 year and a half, and she's taking care of an interesting also category, which is we are really starting to develop a lot. It's about vanities and all around the grooming station. That means vanities and also vanity top mirrors and all those elements. And as we are a global design studio, we are very strongly linked with the different design studio, Kohler design studio all over the world. That means North America, that means UK, that means also Asia Pacific, for instance. So there's a lot, and some of the projects we are defining, actually selling in India, for instance, they are global development. That means the designer from Europe, from the US, Asia Pacific, India work together to define this global collection. People, depending on the age, depending on the region, depending on the culture, they have different ways of acting in this specific space. I remember in the past, because I used to live 5 years in Shanghai also. I was there to create the design studio in Asia Pacific. And one of the just to give you an example, one of the thing was to develop the kitchen cabinetry business. So we spent, I think, something like 3 months. I spent a lot of time in professional kitchens, in restaurants, in people places, filming them while they were preparing food and all that, to make sure what we're going to deliver at the end aesthetically fits and also functionally fits. Don't tell my age, okay? I'm something like 20, a bit more of 20, okay? And I start as a let's say a cabinetry designer. And what is interesting that through this company you have the chance to have an evolution. I mean, changing places, changing categories, and what keep me, but I guess sincerely, if I just look at the designer here in Europe, most of them, they are part of the company for 20 years, and it's the same things in North America and in Asia Pacific. The team that I designed at the time, there are still people that are still there. So what I mean is that what is interesting is that you can, by changing category, you have the access to a lot of diversity in terms of industrial process. So it can be ceramics, but tomorrow is going to be wood, or it's going to be glass, it's going to be brass molding, injection plastic. So there's so much processes, industrial processes, and aspects of industrial design that you can touch base with. When I was kid, very long time ago, you know. Yeah. My grandfather used to have a little workshop. It was a little workshop full of tools and okay. So and every summer, every time I was going to my grandparents' place, I spent almost all the afternoon killing his tools on wood pieces and trying to build little models, little boat, little whatever. So I think it was starting when I was finally pretty young, around 8 or 9. When I was at school, one of my English teachers said, "Oh, Bruno, you are doing good at doing drawings. You should try to enter a school called l'École Boulle. It's quite a famous art school in France." I said, "Okay, well, all right." So at the age of 16, I do the contest. I was there, and then finally, cool. That's pretty a good thing. The worst design in the world.
Okay, what's that?
It's not exactly the worst. I remember it's something I bought to my mother because it looks super cool, but it's the worst function ever. It's a lemon squeezer that looks like a Sputnik or like a rocket. You know, I don't know if you know that. I think it's been designed also, but it's an LSC product. So it looks like you get legs like this, and you get this piece on the top. So you have to put your lemon and squeeze it on the top. But in reality, you cannot really put whatever glass you want underneath. So it's absolutely unpractical at all. Let's say the most achieved industrial design was on the church. If you look at Notre Dame de Paris, for instance, Notre Dame de Paris, the Gothic church, you get the building, which is very straight, and to all these very tall walls, you get some kind of arc that goes on the side to maintain the walls straight. So okay, that's the perfect industrial design. It's beautiful, and the function is clear. So you just talked about the Bauhaus trends, which remain since the beginning of the 20th century a reference in terms of industrial design. It's really about, as you say before, functionality and minimalism. And I would say that one of the trends that we can see strongly come back, but not, and I'm not talking only about Europe. It's really something that's growing very fast. It's more about, let's say, a traditional way. So traditional, or let's say classic aesthetic, was always there, staying, because people like to have old-fashioned stuff. But is this trend really go very much more? And it's been starting like since the 2016, 2017. So there's a lot of things cool that happening at Kohler. Sonal, she is in charge of the artist edition and what we call CMF, color, material, and finishes. She worked with the Indian artists to create a series of vessels and vanity tops that are linked with some very specific art style from India.